What's up, zoners? Today we're going to be going over our week 3 waiver wire ads. Last week's top priority just dominated, just killed shit. It was Puka Nacua, 20 targets, 15 catches. Let's see if there's anybody else like that maybe. If that sounds interesting to you, hold on for 7 seconds.
You can do it!
What's up, zoners? This is Tyler, Big Turd Ward, and Banjo, the dog coming at you live from my living room. And this is the Fantasy RZ. Today's episode. So like I said in the intro, we're going to be doing our early waiver wire 3 ads. This is before the Sunday night game. I'm filming that before that. I'm going to release it probably right after the Sunday night game, but we'll see, maybe even before. And I will fill in if there's somebody worth adding on the Sunday night or Monday night games on the comments, so keep out for that. I've got all this typed out, so I'm going to share my notes with you right now. First up, we're going to be starting with wide receivers, and that is Josh Reynolds, my top priority for this. $15 I'm willing to spend on him. 5 receptions for 66 yards and 2 touchdowns on 6 targets. That was the third most on team behind Amon-Ra and Gibbs. So Gibbs got like 7 targets, so I had to put him behind him. But in this amazing offense, Banjo's barking, he is the number 2 option until Jameson Williams comes back, and that is week 7. So we can see, I mean, dude, he had, 4 receptions for 80 on 7 targets last week. If you're in PPR, he's like double-digit performer for you. If he's in standard leagues, he's probably like a flex player for you. But, dude, you can start him going forward. He is played with Goff in LA, so there is that chemistry. And they host Atlanta next week, and I am not afraid of Atlanta. Next up, Tutu Atwell. He was on this list last year quite a bit. I would spend $10 on him. Cooper Kupp is on IR, people, if you haven't heard before. And Puka is the new number 1. But this offense with Matthew Stafford, you just saw it against the 49ers, dude. There is room for a number 2 wide receiver here, and that is Tutu Atwell. He was making some amazing plays, like huge comebacks. And now Matthew Stafford just got super pissed off of him at the end of that game. He was going to hit him for like a deep corner route, and Tutu Atwell came back to it way too early. So Tutu had 8 targets and 119 yards last week versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Then he comes back and he gets 7 receptions for 77 yards versus the 49ers on 9 targets this week, dude. They get Cincinnati next week. In Cincinnati, I'm not afraid of Cincinnati right now. They cannot get their shit together. Next up, Marvin Mims Jr. I would spend $5 on him. He is a second-round rookie that they traded up to go get. So Sean Payton saw this dude, and he traded up to go get him. Jerry Jeudy did play today, but, I mean, obvious by the stats. I mean, I need to watch the game. This is early. I haven't been able to watch much. But it doesn't look like he was involved very much. Dude, Marvin Mims, I think it was in the first half, had 2 receptions on 2 targets for 113 yards, including a 60-yard touchdown reception. They are at Miami next week, and hey, I value Steve Smith. You know, Steve Smith, old Carolina Panthers Steve Smith, his evaluation of wide receivers, and he loved Marvin Mims. He is all about spectacular catches. And also, they are at Miami next week, and you know Miami's going to put like 100 points up on these fools, so they're going to be needing to score the ball. Vic Fangio against his old team, remember that. Next up, Jalen Reed. I would spend $5 on Jalen Reed. He is, again, a rookie wide receiver. And hey, we had Aaron Jones absent. We had Christian Watson absent. I was betting on Romeo Doubs to get all the points this time. But guess what, dude? That did not happen. We got somebody else, Jalen Reed. And I was just talking about Steve Smith liking people. He loved Jalen Reed. So Jalen Reed had 4 receptions for 32 yards and 2 touchdowns. And this was on 8 targets. And that led the team. So, he was super involved. Love only threw for 132 yards, man. So Jalen Reed could have had a much bigger game. He had 5 targets week 1 with a healthy Jones, and then they host New Orleans next week, and that is not a matchup. You know, Lattimore is going to be on the number 1, and that is scary, but Jalen Reed is not going to demand coverage from Lattimore. Next up, Treylon Burks. He was all over this waiver wire show last year because people forget how good Ryan Tannehill is sometimes. I forget when I watched the beginning of that game, he was like 8 for 9, 90 yards and something. Treylon Burks, 3 of 4 targets for 76 yards. That led the team in yards. So Hopkins was a non-factor. Now, they do have to go against Cleveland next week at Cleveland. I do not like that matchup. But again, if you are in deeper leagues and you are banking, this is like a number 2 option. And hey, he was a rookie last year. They drafted him to replace A.J. Brown early. I can't remember if it was the first or second round, dude. But the draft capital is there. The opportunity is there. And from what I saw, DeAndre Hopkins was not injured. I thought he was by the stat line that I saw today. So, dude, Treylon Burks, pick that fool up just to see what happens. Next up, Tank Dell. He is a tiny rookie. He is electric. He plays for the Houston Texans. I would spend $1 on him. He led the team with 10 targets. He caught 7 for 72 yards and a touchdown. Hopefully a clear number 2 option over Woods and behind Nico Collins. We saw Nico Collins. I think that Nico Collins is the number one there. Robert Woods got like 11 or 10 targets last week when Tank Dell was kind of forgotten about. But I think this is more of the trend. I think that we're going to be forgetting more about Woods and seeing a lot more of Tank Dell. They threw the ball so much. CJ Stroud threw the ball like 52 times or something like that. He had 4 targets in week 1. He's a round 3 rookie, and he is at Jacksonville next week. And I know Jacksonville did terrible this last week, but again, they're gonna be probably predicted to have one of the higher over-unders. I can see Jacksonville scoring a ton of points, and then again, just garbage time. Next up, Jalen Hyatt. He was on my waiver wire sleepers or win your league or whatever that was. He was the fastest man in the NFL. He broke Tyreek Hill's record at 24 miles an hour. I think Tyreek Hill had like 23 miles an hour, and this is in the preseason. He's a 3rd-round rookie that was drafted by Brian Daboll, so I was all about him. He finally caught 2 passes for 89 yards today. But the problem is that they're at San Francisco next game. So if you have the space, I would probably get Jalen Hyatt $1 and just see what happens. Let it bake. Next up, the last wide receiver on this list, Nelson Aguilar. I would spend $1 on him. He led the team in yards. He had 5 receptions for 63 yards and a touchdown. OBJ left with an ankle injury, and if he is out for a while, I think that Aguilar might be a good replacement for him if you were an OBJ owner. So that's why I have him on here. They are hosting Indianapolis next, and probably without Anthony Richardson, dude, I think Indianapolis is going to score points regardless because Gardner Minshew is still a good backup. So I think Nelson Aguilar would be a safe play if OBJ is out next week. All right, guys, now on to the running backs. Zach Moss is the highest priority here. I would spend $20 on him. He just rushed 18 times for 88 yards. That's almost 5 yards a carry with a touchdown. And he had all of the running back rushes, dude. That was it. Everything else was Anthony Richardson and Gardner Minshew. And I do think that if Gardner Minshew is in, Zach Moss is going to get way more work because Anthony Richardson is the running back. He is the TD vulture. Banjo's going to be barking this whole episode, apparently, because my wife left and he misses her. Apparently, he also caught 4 balls, dude. No, he had caught all 4 of his 4 targets. Yeah, for 19 yards. But he does get Baltimore next week. That is a bad matchup. But I am willing to roll him out, and you only want to roll him out while Jonathan Taylor does not exist. So Jonathan Taylor just released a Twitter video or whatever it was, Instagram post of him running routes. I do believe that he will be back week 5 in a limited fashion. But Zach Moss, to get you by for 2 weeks, man, of like, hey, a running back 2 numbers, pick him up for $20. Next up, Roschon Johnson. This fool was like a human wrecking ball last week. I would spend $10 on him. He had 4 rushes for 32 yards, but his long was 29, so it's like whatever. Herbert had 7 rushes for 35, so still Herbert got more rushes. He had 2 targets of Herbert's 3. Last week, he had 5 rushes for 20 yards with a touchdown, and he had 7 targets last week. So we know that Roschon Johnson is like in the game plan. And I think it's just a matter of time. It's like one of those things, like he is the rookie. He looks better. He looks like the best running back on that team. They are at Kansas City next. Dude, Kansas City's defense is actually pretty real this year. That is a little bit scary, but still, dude, garbage time. We're talking about Roschon Johnson will come back and probably put up flex numbers for you. But if you hold on to him, we're hoping that he becomes an RB1. Next up, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill. I'm lumping them together. I'd spend $5 on whichever one you want. I'd probably go Gus Edwards. So Gus went 10 for 62 and a touchdown. Justice Hill, 11 for 41. Now, Hill had those 2 touchdowns last week, but Gus Edwards was not involved because that was a J.K. Dobbins game. They do host Indianapolis next week. Indianapolis has a really good front 7, and they can hold you, limit yardage and everything else. So I'm going for touchdowns next week. I'm going with Gus Edwards if I can. Next up, Tyjae Spears, Jason's sleeper before the season. I would spend $1 on him while you still can. He outsnapped Henry last week, and that was a huge surprise. He went 8 for 49 this week. Dude, he averages 6.9 yards per carry this year, only in 11 carries. But still, dude, like he is elite when he touches the ball. He had 2 targets this week, 4 targets last week, so he does catch it, whereas, they are just kind of forcing Derrick Henry to be that person. They are at Cleveland next week. Cleveland's defense is legit, so I am not starting Tyjae Spears anytime soon, but, dude, he is in the wings waiting to be an RB1 for your team. He is a league winner. Perhaps he is worth a gamble in deeper leagues. I am in a 12-man, and I have him. I do not want to drop him. Next up, another combination, Damian Harris and Latavius Murray. I'd spend $1 on probably Latavius Murray if I could. James Cook led the backs, dude, in between the 20s. Like, he's going to dominate between the 20s. He had 123 rushing yards today, and he caught like 6 passes or something like that. Like James Cook was my fantasy MVP last year. That's why I call myself Big Turd Ward, because by the week 4 or week 3, I figured out I laid a big turd, man. But hey, I was just a year too early, because where you got James Cook, he is a league winner right now. So good for him. But the thing about James Cook is that he is not a goal line back. Today they put Latavius Murray in there early on. And then once the game kind of got, out of hand or in hand, whatever you want to say that, they used Damian Harris, dude. Like, they were up so much when they were using Damian Harris. So we want the goal line back for Buffalo. And to me, that is Latavius Murray, and that's what I'd want. They are at Washington next week. I can guarantee one of these dudes are going to get a touchdown next week. Just bet on the right one. Next up, hey, my favorite runner in the NFL, Deuce Vaughn. I fell in love with the runner. Dude, I'd spend $1 on him. He was all garbage time last week, and he didn't even produce in that. He did not look like he was number 2 in the depth chart. He looked like he was like number 4. Hey, dude, this week he comes out early on. Like, in the first half, he had 3 receptions for 16 yards and 3 rushes for 16 yards. He's all about, 316. He's like a really good Christian. I think the bigger thing is that he's getting number 2 usage. So, like, I think he was, it was all Tony Pollard and Deuce Vaughn against the really tough Jets defense for like the first half. So I am actually maybe trying to pick up Deuce Vaughn again just to see what happens. They are at Arizona next week, which looks like a really good matchup right now. All right, guys, the last on the running back list, it is another tandem. Ty Chandler, I keep on thinking that's like the 7-foot dude from New Orleans, and I think he played for the Lakers too. The center, the huge dude from the NBA, has that big beard. Anyways, that is not him. He is actually like a 2nd or 3rd year running back for the Minnesota Vikings. My whole point, dude, is Alexander Mattison ain't it. They host the Chargers next week. Historically, you can run on the Chargers. But man, in this offense, dude, there is so much opportunity for running back just to like be a top 5 running back in the league. This offense is amazing. You have Addison, you've got Hawkinson, you've got Jefferson. Oh my God, dude, they all have sons on that. I didn't even realize that until right now. Addison, Jefferson, Hawkinson. The 3 sons of the Vikings. Thank you. I would be super excited if they picked up Kareem Hunt. If the Vikings picked up Kareem Hunt, I'm looking at a top 10 running back. So if you want to gamble and pick up either Ty Chandler or Kareem Hunt, there are worse ways to spend your money. Next up, I've got one tight end on this list so far. Logan Thomas, I would spend $1 on him. He led the team in targets last week. And then I saw that he caught a touchdown early on in this game. And I got super excited, put him on this list. He only ended up with 2 catches and that touchdown. So again, not that great, but dude, we're talking tight end wasteland. And Logan Thomas has a chance to develop into a top 8-7 tight end. If you are hurting for tight ends, I think that you can do worse than starting him. Lastly, my only quarterback on this list, CJ Stroud. I'd spend $1 on him. He had 384 yards today, dude. Did you know that? That's almost 400 yards for somebody that I didn't think was going to be that good. He had 2 touchdowns with no picks. He is the garbage king of 2023. That team sucks. They are not going to turn stuff around. Dameon Pierce is going to be garbage. I wish I wouldn't have drafted him in my 10-man league, but I was just trying not to have all the same players, and it just worked out that way. But now I'm just regretting it. He threw for 242 yards versus Baltimore last week, and I was like, dude, that is actually pretty good. He did not have any touchdowns, but still, Baltimore is a really good defense, and it was at Baltimore. So seeing that and then seeing 384 this week makes me think that he's going to throw for a ton of yards. He's going to throw for 50 attempts a game. CJ Stroud could be a top 10 quarterback this year. Also, they are at Jacksonville next week, so Jacksonville's pissed off at the way they just lost, and they couldn't put up any points. I guarantee you, dude, Jacksonville's going to play like their hair's on fire and just dominate this game. And then the fourth quarter, CJ Stroud's going to throw for 350 yards and a couple touchdowns. All right, everybody, that is the show. Thank you so much for watching. If you think I missed somebody that deserves to be on this list, comment down below. Also, remember, this is early. It does not include the Sunday night or the Monday night game. So I will be going through and, typing in detailed ads, hopefully, in the comment section. So look out for that. Hopefully I earned a thumbs up. Hopefully I earned a subscription. If you're not already subscribed, we need it. We need it, man. Please help change our lives. And hey, this is Tyler Big Turd Ward, and I appreciate you.